So what we're trying to do is to evolve a series of classes and categories that are generalizable, but that we can learn from about that will respond to these particular levels of meaning needs. And here's what we've done so far. And I try to find some balance in the language between what people would understand today and what we really mean as this thing unfolds. Because we start off with a dictionary. This is a symbol that I'm using right now for dictionary. Again, caveats to symbols as earlier. They're placeholders. They're not the final art. So a dictionary, meaning some kind of quick, concise support. So that if I'm running across and I say, no, I don't want to go into the whole thing. I don't want all the elaboration. I don't need it in a different language. I don't need a picture. I just need a quick jog. Then I want to drop into this for some concise help. Or a thesaurus, which would be concise alternatives. Something quick, but a series of different words, very much the way it is now. Author's notes, meaning specific in-context elaboration of intention. Right? So that an author can, like a footnote, but live on the place, be able to put support information in. Biographical information, should the request or the uncertainty or meaning need be about a human person, right? Etymology, something to do with, geez, I would like to travel into that word. I'd like to go where that word, I want to know more about the career of that word. Quotes, citations, bibliographic information, depending on whether or not the particular inquiry is about something that requires that kind of support, like making sure you quote the right person rather than having to have that be burdened all over the top level of the interface. Speech, voice, music. So this might be dropped to a piece of music or a pronunciation, or to the extent nothing else is available, some kind of synthetic speech pronunciation from the machine level. This I'm going to describe further. Right now I'm just trying to take you through the class distinctions of different kinds of reference supports. Alternative languages. One of the things we're going to show is that by approaching technology and approaching systems where we do, approaching the system where we do, we make no distinction between a different kind of cognitive representation and a different kind of language. Right? Looking at something from a different angle in representationally is just, and languages are the same business, really. So we've got the capacity to have multi-language at multi-levels. And we'll talk about that. Encyclopedic elaborations. So here's where, give me everything we got, so to speak. I really want to travel, and this was very important to me. Images, static images, animations, video, simulations, and other things that don't fit in anything above. So these are the reference categories of immediate, situationally relevant, responsive reference support that categorize part of the way the interface works. Now, what I mean by situational is that, let's take and put just those in, right? The menu situation reflects only what's available. So when the learner comes in here, say that I clicked on a word as I kind of simulated doing here, depending on what's actually available in the real world, the menu reflects that. It's situational. It's relevant to the particular request, not general. It's not just a general encyclopedia. It's that part of the encyclopedia specifically relevant to that particular inquiry that was made. So situational relevant responsiveness is a key to how this whole thing works. So as an example, if I change, that changes. So there's a correspondence between what's actually there. Crossed our big gap. Let's look back to the learner interface. I'm going to load something else just to play off it for a moment.
I am wondering, why are you here?
This is a module that really kind of gets at the way that my son likes to play with this. Right? It also shows, I just loaded a module in that not only can our system deal with how we travel into references or representations, but it allows the authors to very simply set up all kinds of dynamism as people move from one phase into the other phase. And I'll explain how that happens in a while. So for example, when I click on my son's name, there's an author's note and a picture. So this gives you some idea that the interface self-situates depending on the material that's available. We can deal with text, we can deal with sound, we can deal with color images, we can deal with movies, we can deal with, and it's all as simple as doing what I've just been doing. That whenever I have a, boom, I pop back to where it was, right? I can reset the book, or I could say, I want to see reference materials. Let's take touch. What did touch mean to Michelangelo, right? Or I can say, no, I've seen that, boom, and move. The idea is to be able to, the primary concern is to be able to allow the learner to regulate their own rate and flow and movement. It's not that we care whether he looks at that picture or not. That's not the point. You know, if he wants to look at that picture, fine. If we want him to see that picture, we can make it so when he opens this up, that picture flashes for a while, or that picture comes up. But the main thing is to allow the unfolding flow of their own experience to be self-regulated in a way that, in the self-regulating, they're learning about learning in an entirely different way. That's the ground. That's the main point. Let's go back to gravity. So, situational relevant references, what I've been showing you. They vary every time you go in there. So, an author's note. Biographical information. Encyclopedic, which is more elaborate. Anytime I want, I can make this dominant. Look at it. Anytime I want, I can say, I've seen enough, I want to just keep going. Boom, it flags me where I left, and off I go again. So this is the reference side. This is actually not the most important side. This is just one theme of the way this thing works. And it deals with, it's designed to deal with the elemental meaning needs, the words, terms, phrases, acronyms, places. Again, the piece parts out of which something larger emerges. And the idea is, from a technical perspective, to do that in a way that is responsive enough in time to maintain the engagement. When the learner does that, that means, geez, I'm going to have to wait 3 minutes or 4 minutes or even 10 seconds, then because of the unresponsivity, we're going to teach learners not to do it. Right? We're going to teach them not to do it. If they're going to follow through on their meaning needs, then they have to have something that following through on it will cause to respond in a way that works for them. Right? And this gets to the point of, you know, how many people look up words and terms and phrases and acronyms and all of this kind of stuff that they encounter when they're traveling in their own learning, and really every time they're uncertain go after it. We don't, because we've learned there's nothing to be gained from doing that. But think of what that means. So one level, call it, you know, kind of the first bandwidth is the situationally relevant references.